Hello, my name is Zachary McGuckin. I live in Spokane. I'm with the Party for Socialism and Liberation. And I'm here to talk about the situation with the police chief. So the first police officers in the United States were slave catchers. That's not an ideological talking point. That's a historical fact. And while policing in this country has changed form, it hasn't changed function. The police are still ultimately there to benefit the wealthy class. And we can see this with Meidel's relationship with downtown business owners. So we need police accountability, but we also need police that are different in function. We need police that are here to serve the vast majority of people. Why is it that the mayor gets to appoint the police chief? Why is there no civilian oversight over our police force when our police force is one of the deadliest police forces in the country? We need to have people who are willing to expand democracy and let the common person have control over elected officials, have their say over the police's behavior. Thank you.
Scott Ward, then John Alder, and then Sandy Nichols.
Welcome. Oh, we good? Okay. I'm calling on City Council to use its subpoena power to fully investigate the extent of corruption and collusion between the Spokane Police Department and the powerful business and real estate interests in our community. Beyond this, we need the council to pass legislation that gives the community real oversight powers of the SPD. Police are special armed bodies that the state is given legal authority to use violence against members of the community. No other occupation in our society besides the military is given the legal authority to take another community member's life. The actions of police officers can dramatically alter the lives of community members. There must be real community oversight of any institution that wields this kind of power over the community. This must include community selection of leadership, investigatory and disciplinary powers, and the community's right to remove those leaders and officers who harm the community. If the police continue to be in charge of investigations into their own conduct, we will continue to see corruption and abuse of power that harms the workers who make the city run. The United States spends $115 billion a year on policing. That is more than every country in the world spends on its military except China and the United States. With so much taxpayer money in the community going towards policing, it would be absurd not to have strong civilian oversight. Lastly, let's reflect on what that policing spending has accomplished. The United States has devastating levels of violence, drug addiction, poverty, homelessness, and a declining life expectancy. That suffering goes on unabated because policing and incarceration does nothing to solve the problems created by capitalist exploitation. Instead, it can only perpetuate the suffering. If policing made safe and healthy communities, then we in the U.S. would have the safest and healthiest communities in the world. Instead, we lag far behind many peer countries. Thank you.
Thanks for coming down. John Alder, and after John, Sandy Nichols, if you want to make your way down, and Derek Azaro.
Good evening. Well, in the past, we've had to put up with sit and lie and sweeps. Now there's this stupid rumor of misdemeanors for walking in the parks. Let's stop looking for reasons to throw people in jails. Instead, try living by the motto, do unto others as you want them to do unto you. They got no shelter? Well, you find a place for them to live. No food? You feed them. They're sick or injured? You get them to a clinic or hospital. Let's make sure our budget for next year shows this compassion, helping people staying healthy, fed, and with reliable shelter over putting them in jail. As a member of the Equity Subcommittee, our members and myself will be keeping a close eye on the budget process to make this happen. Thank you.
Thanks, John.
Hi, this might seem a little dated because I was supposed to come last week and give it, and it didn't happen. I think it should be illegal to keep homeless people, numbered in the hundreds, warehoused in a shelter with no plumbing. A house with no plumbing cannot be considered a legal residence. Why should the Trent homeless warehouse get away with not having plumbing or bathrooms? I don't know how many of the homeless from Cannon, as it vacates for its new role, will want to move to a building with hundreds or so more people when there are no bathrooms. As a woman, and if I were homeless, that would be a no-go for me. Also, using money for the homeless to improve the Trent shelter for another owner makes no sense. Spokane needed to buy that building and keep the money in the ownership of the city and its residents instead of in the pockets of the current moneyed owner. It's past time for shelters. It's time to start building low-income housing on some of the weedy, littered lots in this city and maybe save the rid path from the ruin it has become. Some tiny homes could go on a lot over near the courthouse at Madison and Cinto, and apartments could go in on McKinstry lot at Napa and Maine. An apartment building on 8th and McClellan seems to be being left to rot. There's another big lot at 5th and Bernard with someone's boat parked on it that could easily be used for housing units. Most ironically of all, there are many acres surrounding Camp Hope that used to be a neighborhood of houses before it was bulldozed to put in I-90 in the 60s. There are 2 boarded-up houses a few blocks away from Camp Hope to complete that insult. The city should find ways to buy these properties and find the builders, and find builders. Time is up. The homeless crisis is real.
Thanks, Jennifer. Tanya. And after Tanya is Christine, and then Justice for All. Welcome to City Council.
Right now, I think that the food stamps that the disabled people get right now is not enough for us to buy anything right now. You know, we need to have more food stamps than we're getting right now to feed our families right now, and to feed ourselves, because we don't get that much to get for foods. You know, it seems like the people want us to starve here. You know, the food stamp people want disabled people to starve here, and I think the restrooms in the restaurants should be unlocked for customers too. For customers, you know, because if they says that the sign says customers only for on the restrooms, they should not lock the doors for them, you know, and that's showing us that they don't want customers to use the restrooms at all, and I think they should let the people with disabilities too, you know, have pets in their apartments that they want too. In their apartments, so they can have like company when they're alone, and they shouldn't have to pay a fine too. And if people want new services too, they would come with cable. They shouldn't charge the disabled people.
All right, Tanya, we're at the end of your time tonight. Thanks for coming down.
Yeah.
All right, Justice for All, and then Will Hewlings, and then Sunshine.
Justice for All, Spokane resident. In Spokane, even with a full-time minimum wage, you won't get an apartment. What is the way up for those who leave home due to violence or being kicked out at 18? In Spokane, most people in jail are pretrial. What is the way up for those that lose their home and their job due to arrest? Where they haven't even seen a judge. In Spokane, rent has skyrocketed. What is the way up for those on fixed incomes? In Spokane, police target the unhoused populations with sweep and reinforcement of sit and lie. What is the way up for the person that loses everything? Spokane needs to turn to data-based solutions for drug addiction, homelessness, tenant protections, and community development. Spokane should not be led by the business class who cares about profits over people, profits over solutions to these problems, and profits over compassion. Let's call out the dysfunction of our local government, where politics are put over people and our Spokane community. Children should believe in their future and have a pathway forward. We have plenty of schools and colleges and talented people we need to invest in and create opportunities for. We need people to have a thriving wage, not just a livable one, but at this point, I'll take a livable one. We need to close the pathways to homelessness, including arrest and throwing people into the criminal justice system. We need to work on overcoming the opioid epidemics and the following drug issues with more space and funding for rehabilitation. There are pathways forward, but we need you all to get fired up for the people. We need you to modernize the archaic system and to use your seat and your voice to lead us towards a bright future for not just the few, but for all of us. Thank you.
Thanks for coming down.
I wanted to read something. Out of the mountain of despair, a stone of hope. Now, that was Martin Luther King Jr. So, this week I spent in the hospital, and all I could think of is this city council and every single seed you have put in me, and how strong you guys have built me to be. And I thought, it's all gonna be okay. Because now I have tools to take with me wherever I go on my path, wherever my path leads me next. I'll lose my housing on the 1st, which is okay. I'm okay with that. I had a taste of housing. I can't financially get back that couple weeks in the hospital. But I didn't come here to talk about that. I think it's important that we start focusing on these policies of the gap in between, where if I live off my disability check, I qualify for low-income housing, but yet I'm begging for toilet paper on the street corner from people like you. And if I work supplemental with my disability check, I don't qualify for low-income housing, but yet I don't quite make enough to where if I get sick or something, that I'm not going to fall back out of housing. And that's the policies that I'd like you guys to focus on if I was to ask anything of you. I probably will be leaving Spokane. I don't see it as a feasible place to have housing unless I'm a beggar. But on that note, you know, if you want to lift yourself up, lift up someone else. And I hope that all my letters to you guys have helped to give you the insight of what it's like in the shoes of me. Thank you, you guys.
Thanks for sharing, Sunshine. Antone Vallone, and then Megra by phone.
My name is Anton Vallone, and well, it's nice to see you guys again. I haven't seen you guys in a while, but as we all know, we live in a corrupt system. You know, I'm not saying you are, and we each can make that effort, just like all the people that we praised, and we need to start applying those to ourselves, within ourselves. And the homeless, I like to say that it can be solved. There is an answer. You know, not 2 years or 4 years down the line, immediate. There is a solution that if we could all sit down together, you know, with the homeowners, the landlords, there will be a solution to fix the homeless. So as of right now, they're out there, and we're talking about it. It doesn't help, you know. They're still out there. But something needs to be done, and I know that, and you guys know that too, you know, okay? That's all I want to say. Thank you.
Thanks for coming down.
Yeah.
All right, and Megra, if you're there, if you want to hit *3. All right, Megra, welcome to City Council. You have up to 2 minutes.
Thank you. I'm calling on City Council to use your subpoena power to fully investigate the degree to which Chief Meidel and any other members of the Spokane Police Department and City Administration use their positions or public resources to advance a political agenda of a few people. The Ombudsman report said that they were stymied at every turn. They do not have the power to do anything about this corruption. Their access to information on government systems was, quote, dependent on permissions from the city administration. This is the same city administration that was emailing Chief Meidel back in August of 2021 to prevent people from sleeping in Brown Street viaducts by creating a slightly narrower pathway which then, quote, prevents sleeping subject to pedestrian interference. This is the same city administration that back in May removed a porta potty because homeless people were using it because the city of Spokane does not have enough restrooms otherwise. This is the same administration that on May 17th emailed this group of people and said that, quote, operations is currently reviewing resources to continue to combat encampments. These encampments form because there is no shelter space. And this is something that Chief Meidel admits in his things. And yet, despite all of this, the Ombudsman report says, quote, an attorney with Spokane County refused to allow his subordinates to attend requested interviews. The OPO, quote, is unable to compel Spokane Police Department employees to participate in an OPO independent investigation, and that there is no recourse if individuals decline to participate. I'm asking you to use your subpoena power and to give the Ombudsman report enough power to do something about this blatant corruption. Thank you.
Thank you, Megra. All right. That brings us to the end of open forum tonight.